summoned a demon.
No.
Should be an exciting race. My name is Rex Rule, and I'm bringing you the action along with my buddy Tybalt. Tybalt, what are we going to expect to see today?
Well, we're going to see a bunch of shenanigans, some heart checking, a bunch of fun things going on tonight with this Free Enterprise race. For those of you that don't know what Free Enterprise is, it's what we consider an open world randomizer for Final Fantasy IV, or for those of you that may not know, Final Fantasy II in the US.
Yes, that's right. It's the one with Cecil, Kane, Rosa, all of them people. But this one is more of a scavenger hunt than the original game. With that open world, you're able to go to quite a bit of places right up the gate because we give you the Enterprise airship. So you can explore the world, find what you need, and if you see over on Cubsrule screen, a big list of objectives. So 6 of these objectives have to be completed of the 7.
Yeah, it looks like we got some music, we got some moon objectives there with the Masa Moon Altar, the Ribbon Room. We've got some Giant of Babel possibly, so that could be spicy. Sealed Cave, always love to go down there.
Yeah, a lot of kind of not convenient places, but that's what makes for a really good race, isn't it?
Oh, definitely. Love to see some divergence between the runners. The opening start can always kind of gear you towards a particular situation, but you never know what's going to happen with these. One runner goes one way, another runner goes another way, and they get crisscrossed eventually.
And also want to shout out, we do have on tracking Heart Gamer, and I also want to thank everybody over at Midwest Speedfest and 2DCon for making this possible as well.
The countdown started here. Looks like we're starting off with a Porum.
We are going to be counting down here and starting this race off in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go!
And they're off. Well, actually, there's a little cutscene at the beginning, so they don't really get to start quite yet, but we do get to see who Porum's partner is going to be on this journey, and it is the Dark Knight himself, Cecil.
Yeah, we get to see our first boss there at Baron 1. It's called Orb.
Yeah, the orbs of the CPU are there, and as you can see, a whole bunch of things are randomized. Boss locations, item locations, characters. We just like to mix up a whole lot of it. And so we're going to start off in the airship. We were given the hook as a key item, so that means that we have the ability to pick up the hovercraft with the airship. Not a whole lot you can do with it right now, unless you wanted to go underground, but we'll see.
Yeah, we're definitely going to want to find some extra party members. Going down that hook route right away might be a little tricky. To be
a little dangerous.
Dark Knight's yeah. But definitely having
Forum's the stronger of the two characters.
Yeah, of course. We have both runners going to the same place, going to check Bedward. In vanilla, he gives us the twin harp. In here, who knows what he's going to give us? He could give us, like the pan or something. We do have a flag to turn this off to where a demist actually gives the item. In this case, it's vanilla. We got the twin harp.
Yeah. And remember, one of those incentives we had was for a twin harp song. I believe it was. Oh, which one won? Was it outside or inside? I think there was something that swapped at the end, so I might have it mixed up.
The harp song is inside.
Thank you, inside. So it's going to be really exciting to see once we get to that.
Yeah, and here's a little bit of divergence here. We have Cubs looting out the public treasury, I like to call it. And meanwhile, Moonblaze is going to the Damsian basement to get the early looting.
Also, it's a place where this is where you spawn the hovercraft. So if you have anything that you want to use with that hook, you can do that while you're here at Damsian as well.
Yeah, Moonblaze finding a black sword. That's Dark Knight Cecil's best weapon, so definitely got some early game power here.
It says something about a character when you get their ultimate weapon, like 4 or 5 hours of the game in vanilla?
Oh, right? But we'll have to see where runners decide to go next. We don't have free characters on, so we're not going to see a character at Mysidia or on Hobbs. We actually have to take out some bosses for our characters.
Well, there is one at Hobbs, but you do need a bus. There's none at Ordeals. I think you might have swapped over the mountains. I know I've done that many times on commentary.
We have Kane, we have Cecil's best friend Kane with a vanilla mob bomb.
Yeah, getting a bunch of vanilla up in the beginning of this race, but we also see a dancing dagger found by Cubsrule there. Very useful item for Kane or a couple other characters who can use it. You can use it as an item in a battle, and it does about like a couple hundred damage, which is really useful in the early game. It drops off in the late game, but in the early game, it's one of the best weapons you can find.
Yeah, as it's always guaranteed to do a certain amount of damage. It's not going to completely miss because it's considered a spell. So if the boss spot has a lot of magic defense, you might not get away with it. But using the Boreas there to full effect of taking out the little bomblets, and Kane is now on Cubs' party.
And that Boreas is an item that was dummied out of the game for the American audience. So if you're not used to it, it casts an Ice 2 spell. So it's very useful to get rid of these bosses that have multiple characters in it, like that Dr. Luge with Belknap. You see moonblazewolf taking advantage of that Boreas, taking care of both of them in one shot. Makes much faster bosses in the early part of the game.
Oh yeah, definitely being able to skip a complete phase within a boss fight, because Dr. Luge actually has three phases, but most of the time we're able to skip past that middle one. Or at least you hope to.
Yeah, that's the idea. But it looks like Cubs is now following moonblazewolf into this antlion cave. This boss will not give a character like the one we saw on the top of Mount Hobbs, but this one will be a potential key item. We will see what this reward is very shortly here on moonblazewolf's side. That is the tower key. That is going to open one room in the Tower of Babel. It's a room that we don't have access to at this point because we have not ventured into the underground.
Yeah, so it's at least it's nice to have. Therefore, we can just do what we like to single dip locations. We don't like to have to come back because that can take extra time. So have the tower key before getting underground makes it more incentivized to go to that particular location.
It looks like now moonblazewolf is going to retread where Cubs went earlier. It's going to see that Kane up at the top of the mountain and will probably welcome him to the party.
Yeah, sometimes trying to figure out your early game party and getting that figured out is some runners tend to prefer to do that. Therefore, you can start working on finding gear for that party member and selling out what you don't need.
Yeah, it's that point where you get like a really good weapon for Kane or Edge or something like that early, and the tension between do I want to keep it if I find him, or do I want to sell it because it's worth a lot of money and it can really benefit that money can benefit the party that I have now. So that's the kind of trade-off that you've got to think about in the early part of the game.
Yeah, so after doing Antlion and Hobbs here, where did you particularly go in this particular situation?
I mean, there's two things I think at this point. You could either go to Mount Ordeals and just try to make Cecil just that much better, or you can take the route of going to the cave at Evelyn with that hook and loot that place out and possibly get another character. Looks like Cubs is going to do something very different and head over to Castle Evelyn, which you don't need a hook for or anything like that. You can just walk into that. There's a bunch of treasure in here, but 3 of the chests are trapped with pretty tough fights for this point of the game.
Yeah, we find a ribbon. That's a real nice piece of equipment there. Prevents against most status elements and instant death as well. So it can be nice for whenever we find a Golbez. If we find them.
Also, a couple other nice things. Some samurai arrows and a black shirt. That black shirt is only usable by black magic users, so Porum can't equip that one. But that ribbon that we found is one of the best headgears for Porum.
Yeah, and almost everybody can wear that ribbon, I think. The only person that can't is Dark Knight Cecil.
Dark Knight Cecil. But Dark Knight Cecil was never intended to be in your party when ribbons are available.
Right, as the ribbons are normally on the moon, at least in
Yes.
Vanilla.
It looks like Moonblazewolf has decided to do a little bit of shopping, see some items in the bull shop, and we might get a check of the bull defense up here too, see what boss is there, and a potential key item as well.
Yeah, as Cubs runs into one of the bosses here, the Black Cat Lamia chest. There's 3, as we mentioned earlier, and if you're not really already equipped for them, they can sneak up on you. I know in vanilla I always had issues with the Mad Ogre chest.
And Cubs making a cheeky check into one of the chocobo forests. Each one of those chocobo forests in the game has a chest in it. So, you know, if you go in there, you might be able to find something that your opponent's not going to do, because most likely they're not going to go to all the chocobo forests.
There's actually a few that have 2 chests in them.
Yeah. I should say they all have at least one chest.
Yeah. We see our first blue robe here. That's a bit significant, as this blue robe sprite signifies it's going to be Water Hag. If there were 2 blue robes, it would be the Fabul Gauntlet, which is a 5-fight phase.
Yeah, not only the Fabul Gauntlet, but the alternate Fabul Gauntlet is available in this one. So instead of being the fights that you normally fight in the vanilla game in Fabul, it's going to be a random group of 5 fights from the area where that boss would be. So. And just a sorcerer robe for Moonblazewolf for completing that, but it is a very good gear for pulling.
Yeah, and then a second sorcerer robe there at the top of Fabul, so looks like Fabul is really training their punch mages.
Yeah, but punch mages can't wear sorcerer robes.
They're trying to work out. Oh! No, remember about that Golbez?
Yeah, and Cubs does have the ribbon, though, so that could help out quite a bit.
But decides to have Cecil take a little bit of a nap here. Golbez will knock your party down to 2 people standing up, unless you have a ribbon on and Shadow decides to break his teeth on that person multiple times.
You say, in the meantime, Moonblazewolf has decided to make the dive into Cave Edlin, utilizing that hook. There's a shop here, and we see sirens and coffins, a couple really high-value items. Those sirens, in particular, really enable the best way to level grind in this game, or one of the fastest ways to level grind in the game. Because if you use it as an item on the map, it'll call the rarest encounter in that area. And there's a couple of places where it can be used really efficiently to level grind.
Yeah, as TNet for the shop, these sirens, coffins, and Thor rages, all 3 of those are the from the Japanese version of the game that were going to get dummied out in the US. Coffins will do the spell Fatal on any target that you use it on, not a boss. So you're able to just go through a fight very, very quickly with that.
Getting a little close for comfort there on Cubsrule's screen, but I think that's Starveil is probably going to be enough to get through it. Just have to hope it doesn't run out. And we've got a little bit more vanilla and some non-vanilla over on Moonblazewolf's screen. Vanilla Edge is the character here, but the Dark Elf is going to be the boss in the Rubicante spot.
Yeah, Vanilla Edge. Edge is such a great character to find early on, as he comes at a base level of 25 and he can dual wield his katanas and just really skyrocket your early game party.
And Cubs just barely gets through that fight. Double digits on HP left, but got through it. Just a samurai armor and an Edward. Like, if Cubs knew that that's what it was all for at the end, probably wouldn't have wasted his time in that Golbez fight, but we're through it now. Don't have to think about it anymore on Cubs' side. We'll see if Moonblazewolf goes there eventually, too.
Yeah, we just have to hope. Cubs is probably hoping that he finds the spoon early. Something that's been added in our randomizer is something called the spoon flag. So one of the key items is the spoon, which is something that you get from Sheila. It's normally just used as a dart, but we have a flag to where Edward can equip the spoon as a weapon.
Because he is, of course, a spoony bard. And that spoon has 255 attack power, which is tied for the crystal sword, or it's really close to the crystal sword. It's very strong.
256. It's actually 256 attack power, and it's actually better than the crystal sword. The only reason the crystal sword is a tad bit better is because it has stat modifiers.
Yeah, that's. Plus, it's also equipable by Cecil, who has a much higher strength stat, which is going to help too. But at any rate, it's very strong, and if we find it, then that's going to be worth having Edward on the team. Without it, he does have corner case uses here and there, but he's not considered one of the top tier characters.
Now, Moonblaze, mind you, found a ninja blade in down there in Evelyn.
Ooh,
so
nice.
That's gonna be a great weapon for that edge.
Looks like Blaze found an elixir in a chocobo forest, so both of these runners like to loot those forests when they're nearby.
Yeah, because you never know what you can find in there. Sometimes you can find a power shirt or an elixir.
Now, both the runners climbing up Mount Ordeals want to turn Cecil into a paladin. That's where it happens in the middle of the game, and that is not randomized. It will happen if you complete Mount Ordeals here. So the first boss we're seeing on Cub's side is Plague, who only really has one attack. He used count, and that puts a doom counter on all the characters in your party. If it goes down to 0, they die.
Yeah, we're down here to the 0 on everybody. And I don't know. Oof.
This is tough because Cubs doesn't have that edge in the party that moonblazewolf has. There's a lot more offense possible on Blaze's side than Cubs'. So I think Blaze might have a much easier time dealing with that flag than Cubs. Now, that doesn't say that Cubs isn't going to get it. You see him rearranging party orders and everything. He's really looking at what is going to be needed to get through this fight right now. And we're going to see a different tactic this time.
Yeah, as I'm looking at his stats, what he was probably doing was looking at everybody's agility. As with most RPGs and the future Final Fantasies, you see a little bar that tells you when your turn's coming up next. Final Fantasy IV kind of brought it into the first rendition of the active time battle system. So it doesn't show you, but it's all based on agility. In vanilla, it's based off of Cecil. However, since there's not always a guaranteed Cecil in every party, we decided to make it the center slot character. So everything kind of revolves around that center slot person. So you can sometimes manipulate the fights to the way you want to by moving that character around and actually having either super high agility or super low agility.
We also see the benefits of that edge. Also, Blaze had bought a boomerang in Edlin as well. And so the fact that it was a ninja blade and that boomerang attack, it was over 1,700 damage that Edge was able to do in one hit. It just kind of shows the difference. The routing makes the bosses so much more difficult or less difficult based on where you've gone.
Yeah, as Plague is considered flying, so that boomerang was able to add the extra ranged attack damage to that edge.
The second time through, Cubs is able to beat the Plague. moonblazewolf found Rainadulls at the second boss here and was able to take them away. That's one thing that Edge has in his bag is a bit of AoE damage with this flame spell right off the start, and so that's really nice. I wonder if there's a Boreas left in Cubsrule's inventory to take care of him when he has the turn.
He does have something similar. He has some others like some blizzards and lit bolts, which are great, but the downside of those is those are the level 3 of that particular Jadam, and it's based off your the user's HP. So, and our HP totals are not exactly the highest right now.
Yeah, this cane is only going to do about 150 and 20, 170 damage each with that lit bolt, I think, if my math is correct.
Luckily,
thereabouts.
Yeah, but even then, with the dolls and the HP that's split around between all 6 dolls and then the big doll, the HP is split so nicely that you're able to do it even without very high HP totals.
And I blinked and missed the boss on Moonblazewolf's side. Did you see what the third boss is?
It's a form of guards. The Baron guards or Kaipo guards.
Ah, okay. Either way, quickly dispatched. This third boss here is really generally the easiest of the three. Very low HP, like right around 1,000 HP, so it doesn't take a whole lot to take it down.
Yeah, as we see that all of one character learns the spell Meteos. So, in some cases, you will have multiple characters. When we finish Ordeals, all Cecils will become Paladins, and all Tellas will learn all of their spells. So it's not just one character that learns it; it's everybody future as well.
Yeah, any Cecils found before you complete Ordeals will be Dark Knights. Any Cecils you find after completing Ordeals will be Paladins. In general, in Free Enterprise.
This starts with a Drain Sword, as we have one of our other newer flags called Neki. So instead of a character coming in with their base gear, Paladin Cecil normally comes with a silver staff and a cloth shirt. This time, he just has a Drain Sword, no armor, and a random weapon.
And the reason for that silver staff is because in the vanilla game, Cecil is given the Legend Sword at that point, but the Legend Sword is one of our key items, so that's not necessarily going to be found right there. So we gave him the silver staff. He can equip a lot of weapons, so you can usually find something pretty good for him.
That looks like we have not found our magma key, which is our other way underground, so it looks like we may end up having to dive down that hook route.
Well, there is one spot that we haven't checked. We have in our possession a twin harp. So that is a place where a magma key could be found, is in the Cave Magnus. So we'll see if either of our runners want to do that before diving into the underground. Wait. Completing Cave Magnus is one of the 7 objectives as well. Plus, you've got the option of getting that sweet new music.
Very true. The only problem with that particular spot is that, well, we don't have any magic users on this party, so that's at least a plus. It has a quite high magic defense, so if we had just mages, I don't know if we're going to go there, but at least on Moonblaze's side, we've got an Edge, Kane, and Cecil. Like we're ready to do that. That's fine.
Yeah, and depending on what Cubs has available or finds for Cecil, that might be enough too. So Cecil doesn't need a whole lot to become very powerful. He's a very strong character. Once he's a paladin, that is. When he's a Dark Knight, he's not very useful.
And we have Cubs going down the hook route here. Going to check those wonderful shops down there. And meanwhile, Moonblaze, Gomez takes out the edge.
Yeah, I imagine at this point with Cubs going here, and once he sees Edge in the character spot there, plus Dark Elf as the boss, I think Cubs might dive the route now. I don't think he's gonna leave and check Cave Magnus beforehand, but we'll see.
Look, he might come back and do maybe some of those trap chests in Evelyn to get some extra levels on the party. Sometimes the experience just from more heals is not enough, especially when our only white mage is Porum, who takes a little bit longer to learn the nice spells like Cure 3, Blink, Berserk. Those are something that you really want to have when you're going down the hook route.
Looks like Cubs is just using that dancing dagger on Cecil right now, so not a whole lot of firepower. That might be another reason to go back and check those trap chests, because you've got a potential of getting a really good item. Like the trap chest loot table is much better than the regular chest.
So looking at our flags here, let's see, it is T Wildish. So with the different, we have a couple different flag settings for our treasures. We have standard, pro, wild, and wildish. Major difference like between standard and pro. Pro is more geared towards a more difficult flag set. where you don't have the ultimate best gear just sitting around. It's a little hidden. Wildest kind of uses the same concept of waiting, so a lot of the higher tier loot's going to be in the more dangerous spots, like Evelyn or in the underground or on the moon. So those trap chests, we could end up finding what we like to call a shiny stick for this Cecil in those trap chests.
Looks like your instinct was correct. Cubs did exit out and is parking his hovercraft right by the Castle Eben, so it looks like that's going to be the next bout. Looks like moonblazewolf is heading over to Toria, so that makes me think that this is going to be a harp check for Blaze.
You can check the shops here first, so might want to make sure and get some extra gear. Ooh, find some black belts.
Black belts, those are nice.
Yeah, not the greatest
Nice little
defense,
boost
but
for strength.
yeah, strength, give that offense. I mean, the greatest defense is a good offense, right?
Yeah, it turns out that monsters don't do a lot of damage to you if you take them out before they have a chance to attack very often.
Yeah.
Ooh, another nice find in a shop there, that Mute Dagger. It does raise black magic stat, but what it's more important for, as far as free enterprise is concerned, is it hits a mage weakness. So any monster or boss that is classified as a mage, that Mute Digger is going to do, 4 times better?
Yeah, 4 times better on those. And it's just it's a pure upgrade for Moonblaze. It has about the same attack power as like the Longsword, which is about the time that you'd be in the underground is when you find those. So definitely a good power boost for that edge, as we can see the attack stat just skyrockets.
Yeah, and it's a very versatile weapon. Palom can use it for his black magic soak and Rydia, but put it in an attack where Kane, Cecil, and Edge can all use it, and it's great. Edward could use it too, but he doesn't do as much with it.
Yeah, I saw something strange on Cubs' side. He was using life potions on the enemies. What's going on with that?
Well, this is what's known as the life glitch. This is a glitch that's available in the vanilla game. Whenever you use a life potion on a character, whether it's one of your characters or a monster, it'll revive them, and the amount of HP that it gives you is based on your vitality stat. As it turns out, every enemy in the game has a vitality of 0, so they're revived with 0 HP and they immediately die again, basically giving you another enemy death, which counts towards your experience. So it's a way to kind of cheat and get a lot more experience than you normally would for a fight.
Wasn't that way just to kind of power boost your party there?
And we see that these Mad Ogres in particular are a very nice source of experience for this stage of the game. They are also technically mages, so that Mute Dagger would do 4 times damage against Mad Ogres too. So it's just kind of interesting how everything lines together, and I think that's part of the beauty of Free Enterprise, is seeing all these things come together.
Yeah, so it looks like Moonblaze is using Kamikaze to get through the script for the first section of the Harp Check, the Dark Elf. It's a planned fight, you're going to lose, might as well make it go faster. And here we have Edward coming out. We're going to need to switch the audio on over to Blaze's side here.
Please do. This is what we, this should be the inside music.
Yep.
Enjoy, everybody. Wow, DJ Spoony B, bring it out here with that Star Tropics music. And our resident musician here at Free Enterprise, Xenocat, really knocked it out of the park on that one. That was awesome. And a nice legendary katana for the trouble. No access to the underground via the Magna Key. This is officially a hooked route, which means you have to go through that Cave Eblin in order to get to the underground. Looks like we're going to get a reprise of that as Cubsrule is now going over to Cave Magnus as well. And I believe moonblazewolf doesn't have anywhere else to go but Cave Eblin, so we see him heading over there right now. That Mazamune Ninja combination is in-game viable. You don't need anything else for Edge at this point. And that's really nice to have that just squared away. Like, I don't need to worry about it. Like, we're getting close to the point where Blaze doesn't need to open a whole lot more chests than the rest of this run.
Yeah. Cubs, meanwhile, did find a shiny stick for that Cecil Excalibur in that final trap chest of the Snailman skeleton. So that Pollen Cecil just got a huge power boost. But Cubs also did something else, is that he equipped a bow and arrow on Cecil and then took it off. So what he did there was actually something is another vanilla glitch in the game, which is called the back row glitch. So when you equipped a ranged weapon like a bow and arrow, dwarf axe, or the boomerang, it sets a flag saying that, hey, you can do full damage from the back row. However, it doesn't turn it off when you take off the ranged weapon. So once you're equipped it once, you can do full damage from the back row at all times.
Yeah, very useful, especially for characters like Cecil. Like Cecil in particular really benefits from being in the back row. He's got that cover ability, but before I go yapping too much, we're going to get that reprise from DJ Spoony B. So enjoy once again the dungeon from Star Tropics. And thanks for everybody who voted or donated towards the incentive of this inside music, because I really love it. Star Tropics is one of my favorite games growing up. So being able to hear it in this version of it, I really enjoy it.
Speaking of donations, do we have time for a few?
Yeah. You can say a few
Fantastic.
donations there.
We have $10 from Oksani, who says, "Hi Cubs, good luck. Despite being one of your BFFs, I still have no idea what's going on in this game, but win and stuff." We have $69 from Anonymous, who says, "Nice. Greetings from the Free Enterprise Workshop team." We have $20 from Anonymous with no comment, but thank you very much. We have $31 from Anonymous, who says less than 3, Scalikitty and Xenocat. And I also see that we have reached $1,500. So thank you very much for all your kind donations, and we will be showing off the alternate sprite at the end of this run here, just to show off that artwork. So thank you again.
Yes, thanks. That's going to be great. Our resident sprite master is Scalikitty, and I can't wait to see what she's got cooked up for us today.
Oh, definitely. And I think there's over 500 out there, if not more. We've got a huge list. Meanwhile, as Cubs was doing the check there, it looks like we found Cecil's next best upgrade, the Crystal Sword.
Yeah, that cuts through enemies like a hot knife through butter. It is like ridiculously overpowered, especially when you're getting it this early in the game. Now, currently Moonblazewolf has just defeated the first of 2 bosses here. The second one he knew was going to be Dark Elf, but the first one was a mystery, easily taking out those guards. But now here is, as Dr. Luque would call it, the real fight.
Yeah, so Dark Elf, what we do have that Crystal Sword in hand. So Dark Elf is going to have a real bad day here. On Moonblaze's side. Cubs, it will also have a very bad day too, but not as bad as a day.
Yeah, both the Excalibur and the Crystal Sword deal extra damage to enemies who are weak to holy weapons, and the Dark Elf is kind of the one that's most affected by it, especially the Crystal Sword, because in the Dark Dragon form especially, it's a holy sword that also deals extra damage to dragons. So, not really fair to Dark Elf there, but Dark Elf ain't a good guy, so we don't worry about it too much.
Yeah, not at all.
Look at that, over 7,000 damage there. My goodness. Where other people are doing like 200 to 300.
Yeah, Kane, as we call pound the average 400. Like, it's fine. It's like, I'm helping. So it's like, hold on, I got this. But I mean, we're getting underground here around the 36, 37 mark. That's a relatively decent time, especially with what we've done in the overworld.
Yeah.
To get underground via hook route.
Yeah, doing an extra dungeon in the Cave Magnus, and it's a hook route. This is very good times. I mean, I think we haven't mentioned it, but both Moonblazewolf and Cubsrule are excellent runners of this game. They're in the top tier, I'd say.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, I've raced Cubs a few times, and I've seen Moon race in a couple of our previous tournaments, and I know both of these runners are just amazing. Be sure to follow each one of them. They are just amazing to watch.
And now with this falling animation here, that symbolizes that Moonblazewolf has made it into the underground. It's going to take a couple steps to the right to take a peek, and we see a lunar sparkle as the boss at the top of the tower.
Yeah, so the sparkle there, the moon spots don't exactly have sprites for the overworld because you don't see the boss, so we just give them a sparkle. So who knows what moon boss that is?
Exactly, it makes it a bit of a mystery for some really difficult bosses. Like the moon bosses are no joke in general.
No, I mean, the one that's probably the most of a joke is probably Plague, but we've already got taken care of Plague. So got Yeldim out there, Pogo. Wyvern is the most notable one that can be kind of mean.
Yeah, and the Lunar Dragons are also no joke either. So there's a lot of scary bosses possible. The thing about the top, one thing we didn't talk about is we say that the bosses are randomized, but the stats that the boss have, like their hit points, their strength, their magic power, their magic defense is based on the spot that they're at. So this dark elf that Cubsrule is fighting has the stats Rubicon would have in the vanilla game. Although the HP is split among the different forms and everything like that, there's a lot more into it that goes, but generally, like, if it's a strong spot in the vanilla game, whatever boss is there will be strong.
Yeah, so if it was a single boss here, let's take Plague, for example, as a single sprite boss. This spot here at Ruby has 25,000 health on the spot. You have to go through 25,000 health with any boss at this spot. With it being Dark Elf, there's a certain percentage that he switches forms.
Yeah.
If it's multiple sprites, it gets split based how it was split in vanilla, I want to say. So you have like Mega Sisters or like Baron Guards. It can kind of get a little interesting on how the HP is split between the different bosses.
Now, what we're seeing on Moonblaze's side is using those sirens that were found in Evelyn, and using it at this part of the underworld will summon this egg, and this egg contains a yellow dragon, and this is just one of the most efficient ways to get experience in the game, because it's 34,000 experience per siren, and that just value, especially with Cecil and that crystal sword, can just one-shot them. That means the time that you're getting per experience point is so much better here than any other place that you're going to get in the game right now. So yeah, we're using this, getting up to a higher level to clear out this underworld.
Yeah, so we kind of call this our Peninsula of Power, as it's one of the easiest locations to get you to summon these eggs. There's a few other locations that you'd want to use sirens, but those are on the moon. We don't exactly have access to the moon just yet.
Yeah, so this grind, this seems, I'm guessing this is just going to be the first. There's probably going to be 2 grinds on Moonblazewolf's screen, because I don't think he's got enough sirens to get to end the game level here. And yeah, getting back into the airship right now to do other work, and looks like going to make use of the fact that the tower key is in position. Up to the Tower of Babel and do both the boss up at the top and the one room that the tower key unlocked is another boss, and 2 potential key items here. So this is a nice little tip for Moonblazewolf here.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to be possible 2 key items, as you mentioned, and I'm going to have to come back here, and it's you come directly off the hook route. You're put right here. It's like directly in your path, so you don't have to go out of your way to come back here.
For sure.
Meanwhile, Cub's going down to the Fame Arch. We find an Avenger there in the Fame Arch freebie. Really nice item to find with our Cecil or with our Kane, because the Avenger gives a character an auto Zerk, and they'll stay Zerked as long as they're wearing it. And the Zerk, it adds an extra 25% to your attack damage, and they auto attack at that point. You never have to worry about them again.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite things to slap onto Kane. Makes him a lot stronger. Like Cecil has the advantage of being able to have the Excalibur or the Crystal Sword. Kane, his top weapons like the White Spear just doesn't have that punch that the Holy Swords do for Cecil. But that Avenger, that's something that Kane can use, and Cecil can use it too. But when you've got Cecil and the Excal or the Crystal Sword, and you've got Kane in the party, I think Kane's a very good place to have that Avenger.
And down here in the Fame Arch, we have Dark Imps and Bahamut. So Bahamut in the Azura spot, relatively free fights. With Bahamut, you don't want to take the Mega Nuke that he's going to cast, but he tells you how long he's going to take before he casts it.
And we see Cubs swap in battle from the Excalibur to the Avenger. Why would you think that might be a good idea? Wouldn't you want to just start with the Avenger on, Tibble?
So what Cubs is actually doing here is you start off with the Excalibur, which has really high attack power and high accuracy, and you slap the Avenger on. If you just let the turn finish out, you get the Zerk, but you have the attack power of the Excalibur. It's something we call the Avenger glitch. if you were to use the fight command after equipping the Avenger, the game would then update and you would have the attack power of the Avenger. So whenever you have that Avenger, it's always good to just slap it on and just wait. It'll auto-update that, hey, I'm ready to fight now. Let me get angry. But it doesn't update your attack.
So you don't want to switch from a bad weapon to it, but when you switch from a good weapon to it, it can be beneficial.
Oh, yeah. And we find a white shirt, which is one of the best pieces of armor for any white mage. That Form's going to probably be wearing that white shirt and going to get a nice boost to her white magic.
Yeah, the will stat is for white magic, wisdom for black magic, but which always makes me confused in my mind because playing D&D, wisdom is for clerics. I think clerics more white magic, so it's a little confusing for me. But it's the other way around here in Final Fantasy IV. Really. Yeah.
And we did see the Paladin there on the top of Tower of Moonblaze to the side. Got through it without an issue. Found a Luga key. That gives us access to the sealed cave, and is now going into the super cannon room and finds our good old friend Baigen.
Yeah, Baigen is one that I think runners will be happy to see in this spot because, like on really tough spots, like on the moon, Baigen is a very rude boss. Here, though, this is a very low HP spot. It goes down really easy. Meanwhile, Cubsrule finding the Dark Imps in the King of, like the vanilla Leviathan spot. This is a very strong physical attacking spot. So it's going to be tough to get these down. There's a reset from Cubs. They're just too fast, too strong right now for him to take down. If he had a way to stop them all in one go, like with an hourglass item, then it might be able to be done here. But right now, it just ain't happening, so I'm going to put that up. Might have to go back there. We'll see when and if he does.
Yeah, something that you never really find out in vanilla as, with Leviathan, all Leviathan does is just try to wash you away and cast ice too. He never hits you with a physical attack. So we kind of have an ongoing joke is that if the spot is not meant to physically attack you, it has high attack.
Yeah. And it's like, as soon as I mention hourglasses, the next shop Cubsrule goes into has hourglasses for sale, so go figure. I don't think he's going to go right back down, but...
No, but it's just one of those feelings like...
And then that's what happens, because as soon as I say, he's not going to do that. Of course he does that, because that's how I roll in the commentary booth.
Well, yeah, you always find out what you want, what you need for a fight, just after you get through it, or when you wipe to it.
Interesting find over from moonblazewolf. The tower key room gave the rat tail there, and so now we see him returning to the overworld, and then they're going to go over to the adamant grotto to turn in that rat tail. In the vanilla game, you get the adamant. We are going to get a possible key item.
Yeah, so some runners would actually, think about maybe even setting up Sheila 1, so going down to Sylph Cave and talking to Young without the pan, and then going back to talk to Sheila later. And Moonblaze did not do that, so maybe hoping for like a pan, or what in this case finds a darkness crystal. So we pretty much have access to a few more of our objectives, as the darkness gives us access to the Masamune altar, the giant, and ribbon room. We also have the sealed cave on his side, so I think at that point Moonblaze is just looking for one more key item for our go mode, as we call it.
Yeah, it looks like either the pan or the Baron key, right?
Yep.
Okay, so now Cubsrule. Oh, go ahead.
Somebody mentioned in chat the darkness crystal. So in vanilla, you never actually got the darkness crystal. That's something that we added in to give us the ability to raise the big whale that allows us to go to the moon. In vanilla, it's the betrayer takes it away from us, and then we just pray our way to selling the whale.
Yeah, I was going to say, to be fair, you do get the Darkness Crystal in the vanilla game. You acquire it, and then Kane steals it, and then you get the big whale. So it's still kind of a similar situation, but yeah. No betrayal here. Even though Kane's in our party, no betrayal in Free Enterprise. Nope.
Hey,
Moonblazewolf is important.
yeah, and we have Combs getting through that dark Dimps fight. Second time around. See what he gets here.
Oh, a defense sword. That second dip ended up not being worth it. The defense sword is a very good weapon for Kane, however.
Yeah, it is arguably one of Kane's better weapons. But on Cub's side, we do have a Dragoon Spear, which is a tad bit better. The problem with Kane's Spears is that they have really bad accuracy, so it's a trade-off. You have lower attack, but you hit more often, versus you have high attack, but you may not always hit.
And walking down to the bottom of the sealed cave, Moonblazewolf is almost there. Cubsrule checking a different location that we haven't seen yet. Wharf Castle. 2 bosses here, and another potential key item. Also a character check.
Yeah, so as you may have noticed, I was saying the Moonblaze side, he was walking through all those doors as we don't have encounters turned on, so we don't have to worry about all the trapdoors.
Yeah, that is an option in the game, to have the trapdoors in the sealed cave just not be trapdoors if you don't want them to be. But there's also ways to turn them on. You can toggle them from the menu if you want to turn encounters on, and that'll turn those trapdoors on as well. There has been times when that is a way to grind, but luckily we've found sirens. We don't need to worry about anything like that.
You know, buddy, we got some leg on Cubsrule side of Rubicon, and we find the party rock as the Earth Crystal on Moonblaze's side.
Ooh, and the Ashura as the boss there. This is another mage type enemy, so that mute dagger can do 4 times damage to her.
Yeah, we've got a Masa for Edge's other weapons, so gonna be doing some real beefy damage here. Maybe upwards of 8,000? Ah, okay. 6.5. Oh, we have
More
Ruby elements. With Palom.
There goes the bard. I'd rather have a black mage than a bard at this point. I totally understand that one.
And I don't think we have another vanilla glitch run called the warp glitch. So if we had the warp glitch turned on and we had a black mage before this fight, we could actually just go grab that earth crystal by warping as soon as we're done here. But I think it's turned off in this particular flag set.
I can check that here.
But we probably wouldn't have had the on Palom because he learns it at 29.
Yeah, Palom does learn it late. Dwarf Castle Warp is on in this, but we didn't have access to the warp spell, so it wasn't going to happen anyways. But
yeah, it's kind of a feels bad moment. But we get to see what the dwarf fashion is as we get a Sand Ruby. It is a character check for us, the gated character check, mind you. So what we consider to be gated character checks is anything that requires a key item. So we have a couple different flags for characters. We have Steven Ellis, where all characters are in their vanilla locations. We have what we call C standard. So there are 2 characters that are always going to be gated, which is Edge and Fusoya. They're super powerful. So things like the Earth Crystal, Package, Sand Ruby, any of those items that you would need to get characters, they would be there. They wouldn't be at Hobbs or at Baron Inn. And then we have our C Relaxed, which any character can be anywhere.
And moonblazewolf has finally made it out of the seal cave. One thing that's really annoying about seal cave and why people would rather not go there a lot of times is once you have defeated the boss there, you can't exit out of the dungeon. You can't use the exit spell. It's because in the vanilla game you have to walk out so King can betray you. So that lack of exit transfers over to free enterprise. So you have to hoof it out. Once again, if you had access to the warp spell, you could warp from floor to floor to floor to get out of there faster. But you don't even have that, so it's all walking all the time here.
Moonblaze selling some of the inventory to buy some Bacchus wine. It's always a nice item to find. That is a self-berserk.
Yeah, very nice way to get the Berserk Crystal Sword Cecil going in there. Just pop a Bacchus wine, you've got it going.
Yeah, so I wonder, we've got Earth Crystal in hand, we also got Darkness. Looks like we're going to be raising the Lunar Whale here.
Yeah, I think with a bunch of objectives on the moon or and everything like that, going up there, because there's also key item checks on the moon as well, so might as well do 2 birds with 1 stone, check for a bunch of key items while you're up there, do the objectives that you have to do, and then be ready to come back and do what you need to do afterwards. I think that's probably moonblazewolf's plan right now. We'll see if it works.
Yeah, I mean, if we do find one of our other key items that we need, Pan or Baron, or maybe, why not both, so we don't have to do that giant, because the giant can be really trolly sometimes. We do have that pass in hand. Now, the pass in vanilla is something that you bought at the second shop vendor in Troya and allowed you to go to a secret room, so to speak. But in Free Enterprise, it's a straight shot to the end boss.
Yeah, very convenient there. It's a good, like, I think of it in Free Enterprise terms as an item that didn't have a use, giving it a use for this randomizer. And I think it's really elegant how that works.
Oh, yes. I mean, walking down, as we see, Moonblaze going to the moon here, just watch on how going throughout the lunar subterranean is such a long walk. In this particular case, we have boss with key items, but if you're just trying to get to the final boss, you have a long way to walk.
And luckily, you don't have to deal with the random encounters, because the random encounters on the moon are also very dangerous. I think in a lot of cases, some of the, I wouldn't say a lot, but in some of the cases, the random battles might be more dangerous than the bosses, in as much as that we're prepared for the bosses, we're not prepared for the random encounters.
Right. Yeah, we find a rose here on the lunar dais. Everybody's swapping out.
And looks like that is done for Cubsrule over here. This was, I don't remember if this is the first or the second boss. That music at the top. Okay, yeah. Dr. Lugae's music. That's why I'm like, this has to be there, yeah.
So we get to see, so it comes to the question is, when we're on the moon, it's like, do we go top down or do we go bottom up? In this particular situation, our boss location or objective locations are both at the bottom. So it's probably straight down to the bottom for the ribbon room and boss of moon altar. But we're going to stop here real quick and do some local dragon fights here, which is a lot of experience.
And while that grind is happening, just a reminder, this is MWSF2022. This is a charity stream. We are raising money for children's cancer research. There is a link in the chat for donation, and we've got lots of incentives here, so go ahead and pick what you want to donate it towards.
Speaking of donations, do we have time for a few more?
Yeah,
absolutely.
Right ahead.
All right. I have $4.20 from Flan Kitty, who asked me to insert something funny here. I think I have a word. Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
Hilarious.
I also have $20 from Dathis, who says, donating more for marathon races. Also, shout out to the Free Enterprise crew racing in the chat. Have a couple more if you have time.
Yeah, go right ahead.
All
Yeah,
right.
go right ahead.
Two
We
more.
got some time.
We have $50 from Asuka. To all the Free Enterprise best friendos, Cubs, Blaze, Tybalt, and Rex for putting on a great show, and Scal and Xenocat for their behind-the-scenes magic, hearts, and spoon words for all of you, less than 3. And $10 from Tillerin. Good luck to moonblazewolf and Cubsrule. Start this Speedfest off right. And back to you guys for your insightful commentary.
Thank you very much, and thanks to everybody who donated.
Something as Cubs is going over what Moonblaze has done here for a check, and Moonblaze is doing a bit of a grinding here. Free Enterprise community, we do have a Discord if you want to join. If you're brand new and want to learn the randomizer, we have a particular league for comers. It's called the Pink Puff League. Right now, it's a little in our tournament season, as we currently have our yearly Highway to the Zero Zone. We're on season 5. That's currently going on, so definitely something to check out if you get the chance to. And you can always join our community. We're more than welcome to have anybody come in and join.
Absolutely, and if you're a fan of Final Fantasy IV and want to check out the randomizer, that's great. But even if you're not familiar and you just want a new RPG to randomizer to check out, we've got people who have never played the vanilla game before who love Free Enterprise. So, yeah, check it out if you want. And now, Cubs is going to fight that Ashura fight as well. As we see, another thing that you might notice is some of the characters, I think you can see it the most with Rose's sprite over on moonblazewolf. They have different kind of outfits that they wear, different colorings, different palettes that they have, and those are another thing that's done by our wonderful Scala Kitty. And I wanted to call it out because this time this seed looks like it features my favorite sprite, which is Wonder Woman Rosa.
Yeah, some of the more, like we have some other notable ones. Like I want to say there's Rona from one of the other Final Fantasies for Rosa. We actually have a Scala Rosa. There's a few different edge ones, like Sub-Zero, or even like some would say Kakashi from Naruto. All the different palettes are wonderful and amazing.
And like a lot of things in the game, it's randomized.
Sometimes come down to like, which sprite do I want? What palette do I want?
Yeah, if you've got because there are flag sets where you can have multiples of the same character, and like if you want to keep one and ditch one, like whichever one has the sprite you prefer is generally going to be the one that you keep.
We get to see here, ooh, we have Valis here at the Ribbon Room. Not the funnest of fights, but we have melee fighters, so it's not that bad. If we had mages, when she's in her tornado form, we're not going to be able to hit her with magic spells here.
Yeah, her tornado form, in certain locations, she's basically immune to physical attacks unless they're super high, and other places she's basically immune to magic attacks. In this case, we've got enough strength from our physical attackers to get through that tornado form, but so if we needed to, Kane can jump and break her out from the tornado form and have her be at the lower defense if that's what you needed as well. So our party is in a good spot to handle Valveless, and this spot in particular is a very high HP spot, so getting through all this is going to take some time. We see the blink spells coming out. That's a way to make it so that the next 2 attacks will guarantee miss on them.
Yeah, because it's one thing to worry. You mentioned about jumping on Val to break her out. but you will do 2 physical attacks right after, so kind of prepare for that. As Cubs gets through that Azura, by actually putting a wall up on her, so her spells actually reflect, so she doesn't auto heal, which is kind of nice. Kind of a high level thought process there to do that. Many different ways you can take her out. And that's one of the easier ones.
Yeah, I think the vanilla game kind of assumes that you know the wall spell and can cast it directly on her. At this point, Cubs doesn't have access to that, so has to use a Star Veil, and then when the character comes around again, use another Star Veil to bounce the Star Veil off of the character who uses it and get it on Ashura. It's not the easiest way to get through it, but it's effective once it does. So.
As Moonblaze finishes up with that battle, we find an adamant rock and an assassin dagger.
That adamant rock is a key item, but it's not one that we're looking for at this point. Right now, the Baron key and the pan are definitely what Blaze is really hoping to find here on the world.
Yeah, and you know, we are getting close to that grand old number of 10 key items. Now, Blaze already did do a grind. What's the significance of once we actually hit 10 key items?
At 10 key items in free enterprise, because grinding can be a little bit boring. Once you hit 10 key items, the experience granted by both regular encounters and bosses is doubled. And so that is something that's very useful. Now, it's also in free enterprise, in most flag sets, the experience isn't divided by the party members. Every party member will get full experience for the bosses that they defeat. Whereas in the vanilla game, it's divided among all the party members. So here, it doesn't. You don't need to worry about who's getting experience or not. They'll get all of it.
So we have Cubs here going and talking to Yang. Going to be setting the flag for Sheila to give us an item. Moonblaze gets through that Masamune altar with Mylon teeth there. And just get some Artemis arrows. Like gets another objective complete.
Yeah, Mylon's another one who's extremely susceptible to that crystal sword.
Yeah, he's actually the back attack before you even get the Paladin Cecil, so it's one of those like, I'm super strong.
Yeah, exactly.
You have dark. I'm immune to dark.
Which is why I always want Hallam to learn Fire 2 before I do that fight.
We have Moonblaze here deciding to go check Plague Spot the White Spear. Well, looks like the D-Loners just swapped over one spot.
Yeah, another one. You see the quad 9s coming through from that crystal sword, but the downside is attacking against the Lunar Ds will trigger their virus script here. They wall up and then bounce viruses off each other, and is kind of it's kind of nasty. It can do a lot of damage, but luckily we can outclass them pretty seriously with a Berserk Crystal Sword season.
Yeah, the other strat we like to use against these is something we call frog strats. It was actually discovered in Free Enterprise, I believe randomly one day, to where if you have a wall or Star Veil on yourself, you reflect their breath and you turn them into frogs.
Yeah, shout out to Dipwood who found out that strategy I think that was around Zeta Zone 2, but I might get my history as far as when it was.
We find a pigtail, one of the hardest items to find in the vanilla game. We decided to use that as a key item.
Yeah, so you don't need to hunt for the pink puff encounter in the one room and then hope for the 1 in 64 drop that you get the pigtail. It's just in the key item pool for us. What's the significance of the pigtail there?
So the pigtail, if we actually, the pigtail would turn into an adamant. However, we usually have the no adamants flag on, so no super strong armor with that pigtail, but it will give us a tier 7, tier 8 item. So crystal swords, white shirts, dragoon lance, all those around the table from turning that in. But in retrospect, the pink puff fight doesn't matter. You get the adamant armor if you actually get an item drop.
Well, Cubs went to Yang's wife Sheila after meeting him in the underground, and was rewarded with an Artemis bow, which is a very good bow, but it's not the key item that Cubs was hoping to find there. Meanwhile, Moonblazewolf found the alt gauntlet at the Crystal Sword altar and did not want to deal with that. That means it's going to be 5 random encounters from the lunar subterranean. We saw that Fatal Eye is the first one, and you just don't want to mess with that if you don't have to.
No, because that Fatal Eye is like a dummy down version of Plague. Will just count on you constantly, but has I believe 25,000 HP just in that one sprite. You get through that fight, you gotta go through some dragons. Yeah, more than the actual boss spawn itself. And then you gotta go through some other encounters like some gold dragons, silver and gold dragons, and actually I believe in that one, have to fight a red dragon.
And I had mentioned before that the boss spot has the stats of the boss. The alt gauntlet, that's not true. It's whatever the stats are of the vanilla monster. But now Moonblazewolf is fighting a wall.
Yeah, so the evil wall, normally in Luca, is sitting up here in the pale dim spot, the Murasame altar. I always forget. I always get the Mura and Masa mixed up since they're complete opposites of each other.
But yeah, this is the Murasame spot, and yeah, another fight here, the evil wall, where that blink spell helps a lot. Berserk helps in a lot of fights for things. So this Rosa has been a nice pickup here for Moonblazewolf, and being able to grind after that to get her up to level, like this party is ready to fight the last fight.
Yeah, we have Cubs here looking at cave value. I believe that the little sprite we did see was Dark Knight Cecil.
That is rough.
Yeah, as the Bahamut spot is one of the highest attack power spots in the game, so not a very free fight because in vanilla, Dark Knight Cecil does 3 dark waves. However, what's the significance of it, the attack bar being high at that spot?
Well, the dark wave is based on attack power. So 3 dark waves are going to do a lot of damage to your party. Now, if you can survive the 3 dark waves, that's it. That's all he does, and then he leaves. But if you're not able to survive, then that's basically it.
Yeah, so being able to survive those dark waves is going to be a little tricky. Too bad we don't have that Edward to hide from those.
Yeah, that is one of the... I mentioned that there are a few niche uses, and his hide command is basically those niche uses. If being able to dodge something by getting it is the way to survive a fight, then he can come in handy. And a fight like Dark Knight Cecil is one of those. The other thing is, can he hide fast enough before that first dark wave? Because that first dark wave would probably kill Edward anyways.
Yeah. Cubs making a bold play of getting rid of the edge.
Yeah, I think... Oh, yeah. Yeah, that is interesting. We'll see how that ends up going forward. But we see now Blaze taking on that Dark Knight.
Turn down the battle speed to give you some extra time in between actions. Gonna get the Cure 4 off here with Rosa. We're seeing that does around 1,100 to 1,200 damage. So
yeah, so he's good now.
Yeah,
and it's like it's one of those where it's like Blaze had done a lot more grinding than Cubs, so Blaze was able to like see what's there and know, and with the knowledge of the game that they have, able to just like know what I need to do in order to get this done, prepare for it, set up the party perfectly, and we see the results. Cubs didn't have that luxury at the lower levels.
Yeah, we do see a near base level Rosa here. She is base level actually. Probably
Yeah.
setting up for an anchor, as we like to say, lower agility, or maybe hoping to get a slingshot. A slingshot is any character that is 5 under the median of the party level of everybody gets double experience in any fight. So you can use that to your advantage of 10 key items, double experience. Under the median of 5, double that experience. So 4 times the amount of experience for that one character.
It has been known to happen. But now, Blaze has completed basically all of the moon checks except for that alt gauntlet, and has now returned to the blue planet, and still no Baron key and no pan in hand.
Yeah, we do have that Earth Crystal as our only other option for key item checks. Still have the Giant as an objective. We're still looking for another key item, so I think going for key item locations.
There are a few places that Blaze hasn't tried. I don't think Blaze has gone into the Feymarch here at all yet. Blaze hasn't done Dwarf Castle yet. Oh wait, he went in Dwarf Castle. I don't know if I don't remember if we checked it. This is it.
No, he did not.
I don't. Okay.
Yeah, Blaze went in there, bought Bacchus, and walked out. We got the Sand Heavy from Dwarf, and the Feymarch, as we know, because Cubs did them, rewarded us just a white shirt and a defense sword. So not really any value of key items there, at least from our standpoint of view, as we know here in the booth.
And this is an Avenger too, so yeah. So yeah, this is just the thing. moonblazewolf hasn't checked the first Sheila check either, so there's a lot of things that Cubs did that it hasn't done yet, and so we're probably going to be going over the same things. I'm not sure if you've got some more donations now, might be a good time.
Absolutely. Let me pull up the tracker here. We have $16 from Asuka, who says, "Hearts to our race tracker. Heart." And with that, that pushes us up to an even $1,600 raised for the marathon so far. Round of applause to y'all. Thanks so much.
Awesome, thank you. All right, so yeah, go ahead, Timo.
So yeah, we see on Blaze's side here. He's not going to cast any walls. He's just, I'm going to take him out before the count even gets to 3 or 2. Bye-bye, Bahamut. Hello, picture.
Hello, white shirt. You know, I just looked in my closet. I actually don't own a white shirt.
I don't
guess
think I do either.
I guess that means I'm a black wizard, not a white wizard. So.
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with being a black mage. Kitty cat smells like Luke and Quake.
Those are pretty nice. And Cubs able to get that done, and I believe had Rosa up at the end to get those experience points. That's going to catch her up real quick.
Oh yeah, she's gonna get 200,000 experience if she actually was still standing at the end of that fight. So that's gonna shoot her right up there to be equal to just about everybody in the party. So nice to have. Rosa, some say the superior white mage, but I've seen Porn do things that Rosa can't. So
Like cast twin.
not even cast twin.
I mean, Porum does learn some of the utility spells a lot earlier than Rosa does. and I think that's one of her biggest advantages. Like, I think her biggest weakness is she learns Cure 4 a bit later than Rosa, and Rosa has a much higher HP growth.
Yeah, so it's kind of a trade-off on how you want to run your white mage. Do you want utility spells sooner and curatives later, or do you mind if you get the utilities later and get the higher cures early? It's always a choice per runner.
Yeah. And now moonblazewolf is going to face off against both varieties of Rubicant here, as Cubsrule is facing that Mylon Z down at the Mazamune spot.
Yeah, and we see Cubs here taking on the Mylon Z. Decides to venture the Cane instead. I think may just end up leaving that Cecil nuts are going to be using Excalibur as an item. Why would you do a silly thing like that?
If you're prompting me for a question this time, I do not know the answer.
Okay, so Cecil himself will auto cover any character that's in the critical status, but if he's parrying or if he's zerked, he won't. So using an item like Excalibur in battle where it just doesn't do anything, it gets off of Cecil's turn and he'll still auto cover people in critical HP. It's how we can fully utilize Cecil's cover ability.
But if he attacks, he can still cover.
Right, but if he's queued up for an attack and doesn't get it off, there's a chance that he actually won't auto cover.
This game's been like 30 years old now. I had no idea that he could not auto cover. I mean, other than, like, I know with the Berserk he doesn't cover, when you parry he doesn't cover, but I didn't know that there was a chance somewhere else.
Yeah, like if he hasn't swung yet, he actually won't auto cover because he's doing something else at the time. Now, if you actually use the cover ability to cover a particular person, then he will. Using the Excalibur to be able to get off of Cecil's turn, as there's no other way to get off of his turn, like in future RPG Final Fantasies.
Right.
Just doing a dummy turn to get off his move to allow others to act.
Well, I mean, this is the thing about free enterprise. You're always learning things that you didn't know before.
Trust me, I'm still learning things.
I mean, so am I. I mean, just clearly, you taught me something.
And we have the D-Lunars here again, and Moonblaze is setting up Sheila 1.
Yeah, gonna be disappointed to see that already bow.
Yeah, it was me right in the neck of the woods of that Earth Crystal turn in. Question comes to me, does he do as we call raid that treasury, as having the Earth Crystal allows us to go into the Troya treasury to loot 18 chests, but I think this far in, I don't think we're going to be raiding it.
No. He's got a crystal sword, Cecil. He's got a ninja sword, Mirasami Edge. I don't think he needs anything else. He's got an Avenger for Kane if he wants it. Like, this is a strong party. We don't need a lot more. And we don't need the money either. At this point in the game, we bought the things that we wanted to buy.
So on Moonblade's side, it's either I do an objective of the Giant, I do Earth Crystal, or I do that Alt Gauntlet.
I think
I'm going Earth Crystal.
Yeah, Earth Crystal is going to be the fastest and the easiest of the three. The Giant, I think, I don't know, like, it's tough to decide to go to the Giant because you're not going to get a key item out of it. There's no key item check on the Giant. And you know you need at least one more key item. So I'd follow everything other than it, like, the only thing that would be bad, like I don't think we've got any other gating right now. If the Baron key is behind the Alt Gauntlet and the Pan is somewhere in Baron, then that could be the worst situation.
Yeah, it definitely can, you know, because the Pan gates 2 key items, the Baron key gates 2, and we've only got 5 more out there. So there is a world where it could be a really, really long chain for that. I mean, as watchers and commentators, that's what we kind of hope for. The runners, not so much. I mean, when it comes to that giant, you really have to hope that it's something easy, because that first spot's got a lot of health.
Yeah, exactly. It's a real time sink to go to the giant. And we see the Wyvern, who is oftentimes a really scary boss, but I want to see how much this Mega Nuke does. Not enough. Not quite enough, but Blaze able to get through there pretty close, though. Cubs is going to be sad to find out that this is an all-comp here.
Yeah, Wyvern doesn't give you a chance like Bahamut. He just goes, no, instant Mega Nuke. You can reflect it with Wall. Something that doesn't always seem apparent with the first time you find him.
Yeah. Yeah, you have to have your party set up right, and depending on the spot and everything like that. But you can sometimes get a Star Veil or a Wall spell up before that initial Mega Nuke comes off, but it's tough to do in a lot of spots.
Hey, we found our Lunarian Foo.
Pussy, the Lunarian who can cast both white and black magic, is only limited by a pretty low MP total, but he's still pretty good. I don't know if Blaze is going to want him, though. He might be better than Kane. I'm not sure. I'd probably just roll with what I've got and just protect characters, but we'll see what Blaze's choice is.
I mean, yeah, having Foo, I mean, debatable to swap out your anchor for Foo, because Foo's still relatively good. It gives you an extra, nuke or a Cure 4. And it looks like it decides to take him.
I took him over Kane. I think that's probably the only character that it's worth considering taking him over. So,
And having all that access to that black magic is huge. Having access to weak or nuke.
I think if the giant or the or the alt gauntlet weren't in play, there might not be that necessity, because I think having 3 berserkers going into the final boss is pretty good. But having black magic for especially something like that alt gauntlet might be really handy too.
Oh, and here we have our, as we call it, Nope Noodle, Ogo Pogo.
Yeah, the Canadian Destroyer. It's like,
yeah. So Ogo Pogo here, the dark cousin of Leviathan, starts out the fight by casting 2 big waves, effectively reducing your HP by 50%.
Yeah, pretty rude, I'd say.
Yeah, I got to keep an eye on your HP totals.
Like, I grinded up to get these HP totals, but now you're gonna rip it in half immediately? Come on.
No, it gets really bad when you're not expecting it. So you have, you're a decent HP totals. You got about 1,000, but your max is like 3. Yeah, that's a bad feel when you go, oh, and yep, there goes the rest of my HP.
Oh, that was the Legend Sword.
You know what that means?
That means that alt gauntlet is required.
Oh boy, I mean, Gauntlet, that is, at least, as we know with the random encounters on the moon, at least it's not the Masta Moon altar. That's when it gets really bad.
Yeah, I feel like evil masks and stuff like that. Yeah.
Evil mask, behemoths, double dragonflies.
Right. But yep, back into the whale for Blue Moonblaze Wolf. And we are heading back to the moon. Gonna take care of that. Gonna take care of that alt gauntlet. Plenty of levels. It's just gonna be an annoying fight, but it's gonna be exciting to watch.
Yeah, and it comes to bear the question. You know, we know we're either going to get the Pan or Baron key.
Yep.
And it's hard to say. We have Pass in hand. Do we do the Giant before we go back to the planet?
I mean, I'm thinking we probably, since it's 6 out of 7, right?
Yeah,
So-
6 out of 7. We don't have to complete them all.
So I'd say just because you've got to get the Baron key through, or the other key item via the first one, right? Because we don't have anywhere else to check. So I just do those 2 objectives.
Yeah, I guess it depends on which key item that you get from here. Because if you get, let's say you get the Baron key, okay, you can go into Baron and then do your Baron basement and then walk out instead of going through the cutscene of Baron Castle. If you get the
Or
Pan,
if that doesn't give you the pan, then you go, like if the pan is given from the basement, then you just go up and do then you just walk out. But if it's not given there, then you just go and do the cutscene. Because I think the cutscene in Baron is shorter than the Giant.
yeah, with the boss pool that's still out there, there are still some bosses that can be nasty in that first element spot.
Yeah, I just try to avoid it at this point. Well, we'll see. I mean, Blaze might decide to go there anyways. We'll see.
I mean,
It could be missing
great
something too.
experience.
I often am missing something.
Well, the Demas really isn't a question because we got the free item from Bedward.
Yeah.
So Demas is not the question. I don't think we've seen Kenazo, which is probably the worst fight to have there at this point. Because we know it's CPU at the Baigan spot, the first fight in Baron.
Right. Which at this point is not difficult. But at least you know that you're not going to see it in the Giant.
And Moon taking out that Edward, keeping him nice and low level.
Yeah, and we might have mentioned it a little bit earlier, but agility in this game is going to be based on the character in the middle spot, and the fact that Edward's got base level base level agility means that everybody else relative to him is going to be much faster. That includes both your party and the monsters, so beware of that. But in general, you want your characters to go fast, especially if they're going to be attacking a lot and everything like that. So it's in these end game spots, it's usually more of a benefit to have the slow anchors to your characters and the monsters move faster.
As we have the double Warlock fight here.
Warlocks, yeah, that's fine. Warlocks, of course, another mage type enemy. The Mute Dagger could be used here. Probably not needed at this point, but yeah.
Yeah, we did see the re-equip from Moonblaze back onto the Mute Knife.
That makes sense.
And here comes the gold dragon fight.
Blaze being pretty familiar with this, using this as a grind earlier in this season. Cubs is finishing off, kind of face that Nope Noodle.
Yeah, and is going to get the news of, well, guess what? You get a legend sword from here. You can forge.
Now, I believe Cubs has already done everything. Like, when Blaze returned to the Blue Planet, he had to go through everything that they skipped over the first time around. So, Cubs doesn't have to do that. It's actually, I think, this team, Cubs has looked behind, but I think it's actually a lot closer than you might think.
because I think Cubs has DKC and just the Gauntlet left. So, in relative, like, it's actually still a really close race. Like, it may have, Moonblaze may have pulled ahead a little bit earlier, but it's come right back down into full, almost equal to each other. And, oh, yep, here comes another fight.
This double blue dragon fight is so hard.
Yeah, so the thing about these dragons are a little bit different than the King Ryus and the King Ryus. So we have the blue dragons and the red dragons. The blue dragons we like to call Bimmy, and the red dragons we like to call Jimmy. Blizzard here will always be cast by the blue dragons, and it's an elemental attack, and it does quite a bit of damage. If it was a red dragon was on the field, we wouldn't get their version, which is Heat Ray. If there's a second sprite on the field for the enemy, Heat Ray doesn't come out, so you can kind of mitigate the amount of damage you take from these dragons.
Well, this is interesting. Cubs is heading to the Giant.
Well, I mean, in Cubs' side, he's got DKC and he's got the Gauntlet. I was going to be hoping that DKC has the goods and wants to get all the experience here off this Giant. First spot giving 300,000 experience with the 10 key items that he has. There's 215 then 300. Like, there's a lot of experience here in the Giant. And he hasn't actually done any grinding, so definitely a place to go for a lot of levels.
Yeah, it's really interesting seeing these two runners tackle this seed because, like, the philosophy of how they're going to handle it is quite different. Cubs has decided, like, I'm going to do everything and get all my experience along the way, whereas Blaze has had a couple times where he's like, hold up, let's go ahead and grind and be ready to just destroy the next set of bosses that I go across. Both of them have been working. I think it's been a little bit tougher for Cubs at a few places. Like, there were a couple bosses that he wasn't able to do. But still keeping it close and really interesting how they're deciding to do it. And yeah, it makes a lot more sense for Cubs to go to the Giant than it would have for Blaze based on those grinds.
Yeah, so we have Mylon and friends here. The other Mylon fight. And we got the pan out of that alt gauntlet. So there is our gating key item that's going to give us either the package or a magma key, or it could be a complete dog, but we know it's going to lead to the bear key.
Yeah, whether it's directly there or via Sheila 2, because once you take the pan and whack Yang on the head, you can return to Kabul, talk to Yang's wife Sheila, and she will give yet another potential key item.
So Moonblaze is kind of hoping that it's going to be the Baron key here right away, therefore you can just fly straight north after leaving the underground. If not, he's going to make the longer trip over to Kabul. We have, even if we look at our parties here, we have two different Z fight, or endgame fights for Z.
Yeah, Z standing for Zeratus, the final boss, of course.
Yep. We've got either, Zerker strat with the 3 Zerkers on Moonblaze's side, or we have a mage party on Cub's side. And there's our Baron key. That is our go mode.
So yeah, no real need to go to Sheila 2 now. Or maybe there is, and I'm missing something because quite frequently I am.
Not that I could think of. We have the pass, as far as I know. I don't know what else we... Oh, wait, that's one of our objectives, is to turn in the pan.
Boy. Not use the pan. Return the pan is what we have to do. Oh yeah,
return the pan. There, yeah.
It's a good thing we're not the ones running this, right?
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, if we were running, we would have an actual, quest list in front of us. Commentating, it can be tricky sometimes to remember what objectives we exactly have. Yeah, still had to return the pan.
Yeah. But now it's up to Baron.
Yeah, we've got that CPU fight coming up here at the Bygone spot. Good old orbs.
I think another interesting thing over on Cubs' side, I mentioned that the stats of the boss is based on the stats of the boss where you're at, and that's true here. But the spells that the monsters use are not altered. So Mylon is still throwing these lit ones that do almost nothing all the time, because that's what he does in the vanilla game. Now they're based on the stats that are there, but lit one is always going to be a pretty weak spell.
Yeah, and with Mylon being here as he just goes down, this spot has a wide variety of HP. Because in the vanilla game, this is where the element spot is. So it's supposed to be 2 rounds of fights. You go through Mylon and Ruby into Kinazo and Valvalis. So there's a limit to the amount of HP any one enemy can have, just due to the limitation of the coding back then. So they put in counter scripts to alleviate from that. But if there's multiple sprites, more health. The max HP for any one given enemy in this game is 65,000.
Now, Cubs coming up on the second boss here in the Giant, second and final boss. This one doesn't have the HP total as the last one, but this one is really nasty with physical attacks especially.
And also magic attacks. However, this one... yeah.
I think Cubs is going to be fine with Game so.
That Cecil looks a little low on the HP side. I think this wave might come out for... Okay, we're at least getting some extra damage done. We're good.
Yeah, I think the nuke is going to help, because the wave attack, the big wave attack that Cubs, or that Kinatsu does, is based on Kinatsu's HP. But if you're able to do a lot of damage to him, that it'll mitigate the damage.
Yeah, it's in between 4 to 6% of his remaining HP is what that wave comes out for.
Yeah. And easily able to take that hit, so already hiding in the shell, yeah. Having Fu on the team with the access to nuke really helps this Kinatsu fight here, without a doubt.
Yeah, and there's another objective complete for Cubs, another 300,000 experience for the party. We get Nuke on Palom, White on Rosa, and another character. As Antlion down at the very basement goes away for Moonblaze. Just a Goon Lance. But that does complete one of our last objectives. And we get the Crystal. The crystal is we need to fight the final boss.
Yeah, the crystal transforms Zeramus into a form that is defeatable, and that form is going to look on something based on the donations that were given earlier. This is, I believe, if I recall correctly, the Cute Sprite 1, so we are going to see the Cute Sprite here, and it's going to be a debut. Really excited to see what we've got.
Yeah, I mean, there are so many different Z sprites out there. With it being a debut, I mean, I have a few favorite ones I like to see, but I mean, we still have to walk all the way over there still.
Well,
it's a long walk out of Baron here.
It is a bit of a hike out of Baron, another place that you can't use exit from, but...
Can't even use Warp here either.
Yeah, that is true. If you want to walk out, you have to walk out the full way. The other option is defeat the other boss and sit through a cutscene, and that's going to be longer than this one.
Yeah, actually, we gotta go through a character cutscene, whether or not we want to keep the character or not. And then we gotta walk down some stairs. And...
Right now, we are just a flight over to Toria, towards the end of this seed.
Yeah, we just have to turn in our pass and go through the gateway.
And so, in the Final Fantasy IV Free Enterprise community, we have a question that we'd like to ask at this point in time. Tybalt, would you like to ask said question?
Yeah, as we mentioned, Zoroma's the final boss. We do change him. We don't move him around, so as we mentioned, we change who he is. So, good questions to be asked. I think it's like, it's does it have a hat? How is the butt? Is it? Well, we know it's going to be cute. It's going to be a cute sprite. But the biggest question of all is, whose butt are we going to be kicking?
Yeah, because it is butt time. We are going to kick the butt, and I think really excited to see what it looks like. And moonblazewolf is very well prepared for this fight. Looking forward to it. It is worth noting we do change what Zeramus looks like, but the script is exactly the same as the vanilla game. You know what Zeramus brings to the table.
Yeah. So with this fight, as I mentioned earlier, with the elements is that 65,000 is the max for any one particular enemy. They wanted Zoromas to have more health than just that, so halfway through, they decided to give him a refill script. So it's about 128,000 is what you actually have to get through to take out Zoromas. There are other ways to get through that, but we will see here.
Okay, I'm gonna need some help with this one for me. Squidimus, I have no idea what this is.
Yeah, I'm not too familiar which game this is from either. God Emperor Squid from Squid. That's a new game to me.
Yeah, not anything I'm familiar with, but definitely cute.
Definitely. Looks like the Squid was actually run earlier in the marathon for Midwest Speed Fest.
Yeah, by somebody who is very familiar to the Free Enterprise community, kind of nerdy housewives stuff. Shoutouts there.
We did see Moonblaze decide to cast a spell directly on Zoromas and took a counter nuke, as he likes to counter any direct cast spell with a nuke. But it did end up nerfing that first Big Bang, so it didn't do upwards of 2,000. So it did like 600 to 800. It's something that you can plan for, so you can do things at a bit of a lower HP total, but most of our party has over 3,000 health. We're not too worried about it.
Yeah, and we see a wall come down on Zeramus. This is a way for the mages to have something to do to contribute as well. If you reflected the spell, then it won't trigger that counter nuke, as said before. So that's a way for the mages to just chip in damage as well, but the Zerkers are going to be doing the bulk of the fight. The fact that both of them are doing it, we kind of sometimes refer to that as a hybrid strategy. We're using both spell damage and physical damage. And sometimes you focus all on physical damage, sometimes you focus all on magical damage, but this strategy uses both.
And that is time.
And there we are. GG's to Moonblazewolf for winning this. About the 147 mark. Very good job in completing this one, and GG's to moonblazewolf once again.
As we have Cubs going into the gauntlet, taking on the Fatal Eye, knows that this is where progression lies, as can't be anywhere else.
Yeah, and it's going to be, since Cubs did the giant, he won't have to go and do the basement of Barrett. He'll just be able to do the pan return and head to Zeramus after that. So not much left for Cubs' time either.
Right, and he's going to be happy to see that pan, as he doesn't have to do that Baron chain. And for those of you that may not know, once Cubs actually gets to the solar system here, whenever you finish a seed and you get to the solar system, you can actually go back into Troya, talk to the harp, and you can re-listen back to the music without actually having to go all the way down to Cave Magnus.
While Cubs is
And-
working on the game there,
yeah, go ahead.
I have another donation sitting here.
I was just going to ask if you had donations.
Perfect timing then. Well, I have $25 from Hupfin, who says, always gotta support the free enterprise community and the great causes folks play for. Cheers to Cubs and moonblazewolf.
Thanks, Upin.
I also want to take a moment here and just plug some of the incentives that we have opened up. We currently have a naming bid war for Project Plus, and I believe Edward is in the lead with $69. So if you wish to change that, please donate some money. We also have some donation challenges here. First one is to be playing NCAA football on a Guitar Hero controller, and I believe that is a $300 total that we need to meet. And the Lizard Lady versus the Cats, any percent run, has a donation between the Lizard Lady or the Cats. Or sorry, this is the bonus run. I'm misreading this. It is a bonus run that we have available. That is Lizard Lady versus the Cats. That is also $300.
It sounds like a bid war, though, doesn't it?
It sure does.
Yeah, that's an interesting name of the game, and I actually happen to know who's running Lizard Lady. That is one of our community members, Oscar424. Queen of the Pink Puffs. She's the one who kind of designed, took inspiration from other RPG games that have a learner-style league or group. So she did that upon herself to kind of bring a way to have newer people come into the community and not be in the shark pool with everybody else, to kind of learn the game at their own pace and to help out.
Yeah, and to help with not overwhelming new people, because there's a lot in this game. All right, and I believe this was the last fight of the Alt Gauntlet, so it's almost done
There
with
is
that.
one more after this. There is the Double Blue Dragon.
Oh, I thought Cubs has already done that one.
Oh, yep, looks like you already did that one, so yeah, we're good there. So yeah, Cubs now gets his pan, and will be on his way.
And you see, rearranging the order. This is basically Cubs is getting his characters in the order that he wants them for the final fight right now. Since he's already in the menu, might as well do it now, right?
Right, and it's a way to kind of minimize the amount of time that you're in your menu. Whenever you're racing, you want to be as efficient as possible. So kind of doing the double duty of, okay, I'm going into my menu to cast exit. I might as well rearrange my party here and change my battle speed all at the same time. just by not having to do it, 2 seconds here, another 2 seconds here, just to open up the menu.
Yeah, it's one of those things that the more you play the game, it's like you learn, like, you need to open less treasures, you need to get into the menu fewer times and everything like that. But when you're first learning the game, like, you get a piece of armor, you want to put it on right away because you don't want to forget that. And so it's like, as you get more and more comfortable with those things, you get more comfortable, like, opening the menu less, opening treasures less, being able to do more with less is how you become much better at this game.
Yeah, which does take time, but when I first started, I was exactly the same way. Like, ooh, I got this nice piece of gear. Let me equip it.
Yeah, for sure. And we get that unique sound from whacking Yang on the head. Like, I don't recommend hitting people on the head with frying pans, just in general. But, if you're a karate man who was blown up in a room and found at the bottom of a cave with a bunch of sylphs, then you might as well have. That's a situation where I endorse it.
I think he might just be a heavy sleeper. And so just trying to shake him awake just doesn't really work.
Do you think Sheila does that every morning to him, like as an alarm clock?
It's possible. I mean, she says, "Here, take this to wake him up." How would she know it would wake him up? Unless she's done it before.
I guess so. And there we go. There is the crystal for Cubs. And now can once again just a short flight over to Toria to get into that Xeramus fight.
Right. We're gonna see a little bit different strategy on how to take out Xeramus here. It's what we call reflect strats. So instead of having to go through the full 128,000 HP that Xeramus has, we only have to go through about half of it. Because around the 40 to 60,000 HP total is when the counter script happens to refill the HP. So just reflecting spells constantly, you don't have to worry about that counter script.
Yeah, because that is treated like a counter attack would, and all counter attacks are turned off when you reflect damage onto them. So the refill doesn't happen, and Xeramus just goes down real quickly. But you have to have enough wizards in your party to reflect enough magic in order to do that in an efficient manner. Otherwise, it's usually just better to deal with the refill and zerk up and fight physically. So, yeah.
Cubs, you're going to be picking up, looks like some silk webs here before heading down in. Ooh, we got hit by the inventory boss. Can't buy anything without selling something.
Yeah, might have just wanted to check to see if there's like Q3s available in there, because I think that would be probably the most useful item to buy at this point.
I think we did. I think he may still have an elixir or two that he may have picked up along the way. May not remember, or just want to have something extra just in case.
And when you're walking right next to that shop anyways, might as well take a peek, right?
Right. And, we may think that, top tier runners never take the end boss here for granted. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I've long maintained that Xeramus is no joke.
Like, you may be one of the best runners out there, but things can still go sideways in the fight. And you kind of want to just have all those different options to kind of like, okay, if this happens, I've got this option. If this happens, I've got this.
In general, when you've got the HP totals that Cubs has here, you don't worry as much. But yeah, if sometimes timing gets wrong.
Yeah, it looks like going to be casting a wall on Cecil. I think he may have actually been looking for Star Rails in next. I think he doesn't have any more.
That would make sense, yeah.
Because I think he used it for Golbez, Bahamut, And Ashura was probably used up all of his
Oh,
Star
yeah.
Vessels. I'm not sure if he used his last, if he had a Moon Veil or not. I could have sworn I saw one, but he may have used that at some point as well.
Yeah, I might have used that in like maybe the Evil Wall fight or something. All right, and you see there is going to be a few physical attacks here at the beginning. Or this might just be a hybrid because it looks like they zerked him up. And I don't think Cecil's going to go down at any time with that HP amount.
Well, yeah, I think it was just, I think he just left the Avenger on itself, not
Avenger?
using the crystal. Yeah, just not using the crystal sword. So I'm gonna be getting that extra damage output with Cecil, and then might actually still be trying to do the refill skip. Which, if you're counting HP, you can do. You just have to make sure that the final hit on Throbus is enough to actually take him out entirely. Yeah, that's us only doing around 2k. And being back road, the Crystal Sword was now not beforehand.
Right. But there's a window of HP that if Zeramus is hit while it's in that range of HP by a physical attack, that will trigger the HP refill. We'll see if he can avoid that, or if he just doesn't care, because that's another option. Probably did not want to see Fusia go down.
No, that's a little tricky there. Did not nerf that first Big Bang. As we saw a whole, 2000 on everybody. The nukes and whites are coming out here.
Yeah, not going for hoping that this refill is skipped this.
Alum's about to go down here.
HP ran out on Alum.
We're gonna have a Gear 4 coming out here from Rosa. Gonna bring her back up to full HP. Cecil, however, is not gonna get the healing, but does have enough to actually survive here. We have, as we call it, the power couple.
This is a perfectly acceptable way of getting through a Zeramus fight. Just let Cecil and Rosa roll it.
As we see a black hole come out. If the Cecil had used a Bacchus, Cecil would actually just turn back. However, has the Avenger. Gets the auto Zerg right back.
That is a direct nuke that is not from a counter, which means the HP refill did take place.
Yep. So in the first half of the fight, it would be a virus. Second half are nukes. And we are in Promise.
This is the final phase of Serum. This is the medium phase.
Yep,
It's only a
which
few
means he has less. Yep, which means he has less than 12,000 HP.
And there we have it. GG's to Cubsrule in second place today at 2:01:34. GG's to both our runners for putting on such a fun race.
Yeah, what a heck of a race to go on. Always a great thing to see. It looks like we have our donation incentive here, I believe, going to be shown up here. The other sprite.
That was a tough sprite.
I think we just got to figure out where it's located.
So many folders.
Draxomus.
Oh, Draxomus. All right, awesome. Able to show that off. Thanks to everybody who got us to that 1,500 that we needed for that. Oh, I didn't know we were getting this. That's awesome.
The other donation is for the music. This is the outside music.